Hey friends, it's Susie and Mosley. We are at our last roadblock number 5 for our removing roadblocks training. So the last roadblock that I often hear from consultants that I've had myself over the last 5.5 years, and I've learned some good things from other consultants and other trainers, and that is this roadblock. I don't know what to say. You know what? Yes. A lot of us fall into that and find that roadblock. So let's talk about some ways to remove it. So I'm specifically going to speak to not knowing what to say with sales, like when you're doing follow-up from parties, or when you're working with potential hostesses, potential recruits, okay? And the cool thing, if you can memorize these questions, they're easily adaptable, okay? So this is my very favorite, and I have my little board as always. This is my very favorite question. I use it for all the things. It's great. You can use it for hosting and joining. Have you ever thought about doing this? Would be more of a joining, but hey, have you ever thought about hosting? I used that with a teacher last night in my party who had never been to an Usborne Books and More party before. And she loved the books. I was like, well, have you ever thought about hosting? That's a great question. Just memorize that one. This one, what questions do you have that I can help with? If you ask them, hey, have you ever thought about hosting? Or have you ever thought about doing this? And they're like, well, I'm just not sure. Okay. Then you could follow up with this question. What questions do you have that I can help with? Okay. Not, can I help you with questions? Because that's a yes or no question. We want to avoid yes or no questions. I'll talk about that in a second. But try an open-ended question. What questions do you have that I can help with? That's a really helpful question. That's not a badgering question. It's a really helpful. Oh, okay. If you're not sure, well, what questions can I help with? Okay. And then if you kind of have gone back and forth and you need one to kind of really like, boom. Well, what is the one thing that would keep you from saying yes to this? Okay. Because if you can ask them that, what's the one thing that's keeping you from saying yes to joining or to hosting? So if you can get them to articulate what that one thing is, that's the roadblock that they have to hosting or joining that you can help remove. Okay. And then if they tell you time and you're like, well, what would be some good responses? If they say, I don't have enough time, you know what? Reach out to your team leader. And she can help you with wording. But then also, before you just jump to reaching out, definitely reach out. But also, like, think about what would be some answers that you would say to that question, okay? And I would, this is what I would do. I would think about the answer. I would kind of write it up. And then I would send it to my team leader. Hey, this was the question I got. And this was what I was thinking of responding. How does this look? Because use your team leader, your Uzzy buddy, to, like, go back and forth to narrow down and tweak and make your wording just like, shh. All right. So those are some great questions that you can just memorize that are wonderful when you're working with somebody about hosting or joining. Now, hey, I didn't know I could use the back. Then some other things that I've learned about sales. Actually, this week I was looking at a script. I always use the same script to send to my hostesses for them to do follow-up, and I do follow-up the day after the party. And the script that I sent her was, if there are any questions that I can help you with, or Suzanne the consultant can help you with, let us know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was the worst word. So I've learned a lot in 5.5 years, and I need to update some of my stuff. So with sales, I love these questions. Again, it's this same question. What questions do you have that I can help with? It's this one right here. What questions can I help with? When you're, I like asking open-ended questions with people that I've connected with in the party that have read my message when I've messaged them. If I know they haven't ordered, I will or if I can tell they're still online after the party, I'll say something. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited that you were here. Thanks for being here this week. What questions can I help with? Okay. I love that one. How can I help with an order? And you know what? If you watch my number 4 video, I want a yes or no answer from them. I need to know, yes, you're ordering, or no, you're not. So I've learned, how can I help with an order? You know what? When I'm in parties, I'm not offended by that. And may make you a little like, but again, look at this. The root of this question is help. You're offering help. How can I help with an order? Okay. Or, if that one makes you a little, you could say, what questions can I help with, and how can I help with it? Like, how did I word it? How can I help with questions or an order? I've said that one before. Okay. And how can I help with recommendations? That's another one that I like to do as a reason to reach out to people. Because if you watch my number 4 video, sometimes they don't respond, or sometimes I can see they've read it and I just need to circle back with them. Hey, thanks again for being in the party. How can I help with recommendations? And that's just a way to circle back with them to hopefully net a response. And then some basic do's and don'ts about wording. Okay. Do. Yes. Do use open-ended questions. Like, do you notice these how and what? These are all how and what. Okay. And this goes with the don'ts. Avoid yes or no. So I don't like to use the word do you, the phrases do you or can I, because those get a yes or no answer. I don't want a yes or no answer. My goal when I'm asking them these questions is to start a conversation. So that would probably be another do. Do make it your goal to start a conversation, because if by asking an open-ended question, you're working towards that. And usually that back and forth conversation will result in an order or whatever you're talking to them about. Order, hosting, or just a response. You know, maybe joining them may say no, but it may be that conversation gets you to an answer, because ultimately you do want to know yes or no. You need to know yes or no if they're going to order. Because how can I help with an order? They may like, oh, actually, you know, I decided not to order. And you know what? I'm so thankful somebody will just tell me that rather than just read and not respond. So I even celebrate when they just out and out tell me, hey, I can't order. Okay. So avoiding these yes and no questions shuts the conversation down. So you do want to focus on open-ended questions. Okay. Be funny, silly, excited. It's contagious. Don't be boring. Okay. Y'all, I know y'all are like, oh my goodness, you were so silly live. And part of that, I just want to be lighthearted. I just want to have fun. I think life, and I've grown in this. I wasn't always this way, on live video, but I think that sometimes, I can be very serious. I'm a very serious person. So when I'm lighthearted, I think that makes people, oh, like she's so fun. Like let people see that you are fun. And I really had to grow in this area because I'm just not fun all the time. You can ask. I need a little bit more orange. But don't be boring, and then be excited. That's contagious. I think one of the things I hear, the number one thing I hear from all my parties, it is clear that you love what you do. You know what? I'll take it. I do love what I do, and I want people to see that. And when people see that you love what you do because you're being silly, you're being funny, you're excited, like that draws people to you. Okay. So even with we're talking about wording, but this isn't really wording related, but this right here, yes, it draws people in to connect with you. That's going to lead to those sales, hosting, joining. Okay. And I'm just silly. Sometimes I'm even silly in the messages that I send them. Oh, my famous thing that I do is, oh, I just thought about this. And a lot of times I'll voice record that. Oh, I just thought about this. You know, if they message me, hey, I want to order this book. Well, really, I don't want them to order that book. I want them to host. I'll say, hey, yep, I can look that up for you. But, oh, I just thought about this. What if you hosted a party and you could get that free? I get a lot of bookings that way. Okay. And then the thing to, and then my last 2 big don'ts. Don't put the next action step, or I call the burden. Don't put the next action step or burden on them. If you need anything, message me. No, I was notorious. I've learned a lot with this. I was notorious for saying that. Okay. Hey, if you need anything, let me know. No, you're not going to hear anything. If they need anything, they're not going to hear from you because they're busy. They are so busy. Life is so busy, and they want to order. So really, if you're gonna get them to order, it's because you're reaching out to them and initiating conversations with them. Okay, so don't put the burden on them. I hate when people do that to me. Let me know if you need anything. I'm like, well, I get paralyzed because a lot of times I don't even know what I need. But if a consultant, if I was in an online party, if she asked me one of these questions, like how can I help with questions or how can I help with an order, that would elicit a response. Well, I'm not sure what I'm looking for. Or, well, I know that I want, if I'm earrings, I know I want some earrings that are silver. This is going to pull that out. But if she puts the burden on me to reach out to her, then I'm not going to do it because I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know what I need to tell her. But if she had used some of these questions and pulled it out, it would have resulted in a sale. Okay. And the other thing, oh my gosh, I used to do this. I would send like 3 screens of messages. And I've learned so much. Sending more than one question at a time, just don't do it. If you have, and this is my little trick, if I need to ask them 2 or 3 questions, I'll type that in my messenger and then I'll cut the first question off. No, I'll cut the last 2 questions off and I'll hit send on the first one. And then I go in and paste questions 2 and 3 so I don't want to forget what else I wanted to ask them. So that once they respond to that question, I can do the same thing with the second one. When they respond, I can do that with the third one. Whereas if I sent all 3 at one time, they're only going to answer one of them. And inevitably, it's always the one I don't really care about. The one, usually if I said something about hosting or joining, they're going to skip that and answer one of the other ones. So make sure if you have multiple questions to ask them, type them all up in Messenger. Just leave the top one. Use, Control X. I cut and paste, copy all that all the time. Cut the bottom 2 off. Just send the first one. Wait on them to respond. Okay. And then repeat. That has really, really, really helped me get responses from people because I was the queen of sending like 5 questions at a time. And when you receive that from somebody, you're like, whoa, why are you asking me so many questions? But if I got one, oh yeah, I can respond. I got that. And so then it's, again, all of this, the goal with all of these is netting a response and getting a conversation going. And these will really help with that. So again, memorize these. You can tailor these questions, honestly, to whatever you need. And I use them now. I've learned this. I use them outside of UBAM all the time with other things I'm involved in. And they're very helpful. Open-ended questions are amazing. They unlock a whole new world. All right. So thanks so much. I hope this was helpful with wording. And thanks for watching all of our Removing Roadblocks videos this week. Thanks, friends.